Usually, a story only goes one way, with rising tension, pace and intensity until a climactic end. In the beginning, it's good enough that the ring is just kept secret and safe. Then it needs to be taken to the safety of the elves. And then the ring must be destroyed in the fiery chasm from whence it came. It would be weird, after bringing the ring to the safety of the elves, that Frodo was asked to just put the ring back into an envelope. The story must rise and progress. So why would you even consider going sideways in your D&D campaign when it is so ill-advised in all other media? The answer lies in the sheer length of a D&D campaign. It can usually take hundreds of hours, whereas a movie has about 2 hours to tell its tale, and a book maybe 10. Simply put, there's enough time for side stories. No one's gonna leave a fun and engaging campaign after 20 hours because it's taking too long. We're not risking losing our audience because we indulge in these side quests, which is good because side quests can do a lot of cool stuff for our campaign. Let's look at what these cool things are, how long a side quest should be, and finally, how we actually make them. The most common use of side quests is to explore player character backstories. You always want to look for ways to tie in the backstories of your player characters into the main story, but sometimes it's just not possible. If the party is exploring the jungles of Chult, it will not be easy to bring in the struggling mining community from the dwarf character's backstory. But maybe the party comes across a mine in the jungle which could serve as a new home for the mining community, or maybe it holds a secret that could revive the old family mines back home. The mines on their own would just seem like this pointless sidetracking from the main story, but with the character connection, it's tied into the main story and it feels like it belongs there. Side quests can also help expand the world building and let the players better understand the setting. Like a side quest might take the party to a different town where they're handling the vampire incursion very differently from how they're doing it in the main town, showing a broader angle of the society that the party is trying to save. Maybe while the main city is turning into a deity for protection, out on the frontier they are arming themselves to the teeth, preparing for a head-on battle. Next, side quests might be a good way to foreshadow future events. Since the party isn't directly engaged with the main quest when they're out on the side quest, the hints of the things to come might seem less obvious. Maybe you plan for a green dragon to attack the city, and before that happens, in a side quest, the players has to recover a stolen treasure, and they discover that there are green dragon scales hidden among the coins. When they later learn that the dragon attacked the city because someone had stolen a part of its hoard, they realize where the stolen treasure came from. Now, since they were just tasked with finding this treasure and bringing it back to its owner, the presence of a few dragon scales among the coins might not seem consequential at the moment. Moving on, side quests can also be a change of pace, either by introducing something lighthearted after a very dark section of the story, or bringing back some levity after a lighthearted part of the story. If the main story has a heavy focus on diplomacy and politics at the moment, you can use a side quest to introduce some combat that would otherwise not fit in. Or if the main quest is about fighting monsters, a side quest could be a way to give the players some social challenges that they would otherwise miss. And last on my list, a side quest can expose a subplot to the players, revealing that the story is more complex than it seems. Maybe the players have been really focused on the palace intrigues for a while, and then a side quest takes them into the city, where they discover that a revolution is brewing in the streets, adding a whole new dimension to the conflict. Now, this is not an exhaustive list of all the functions of side quests, and you can combine them however you like. For example, maybe a character from a PC's backstory is working with the enemy, combining the backstory tie-in quest with the expose subplot quest. Or a side quest expanding the world with new locations and insights into local cultures could end with a foreshadowing event. Of course, all of this can also be done as part of the main quest, but sometimes it's just easier to do on the side, instead of trying to twist the main story awkwardly to fit in all these different elements. So these are some of the functions that side quests can serve, so now let's look at how extensive they can be. The answer is, well, it depends on what you might ask, and rightfully so. Well, first of all, it depends on the attention span of your players. If you have a group that is kinda not that good at remembering what is going on between sessions, maybe a side quest should only be one session long so they don't lose track of the main story. But if they are champs at taking notes and keeping on top of things, you can probably do a few more sessions of sidetracking. The time between sessions is also an important factor. A weekly game can support a lot longer side quests than a monthly one. From a personal experience, you don't want the players to be away from the main story for more than 1 or 2 months in the real world. This means that a weekly game can have maybe 4 to 5 sessions of sidetracking, while a monthly game can have only 1 or maybe 2. Another important thing about the scope of side quests is that the players should always be able to see where it might end before they start it. Some players don't like straying too far off the main story, so if they can't see where this side trick is heading off to, they might not want to engage with it. For example, they might be okay with helping a priest cleanse a local temple, but if they're asked to collect clues about the identity of some person 2 towns over, that might seem too much of a distraction. Also, when we are talking about the scope of side quests, we need to look at the level of conflict in it. You don't want a side quest with a higher level of conflict than the main quest, because then the main quest might seem like the side quest and the side quest like the main quest. What a mess. For example, if the party is in the early stages of identifying a necromancer's plans, and then a side quest asks them to rescue a prince, then that side quest might seem more important than what they're already doing, and they might begin to pursue that other storyline more, and it'll take effort and time to bring them back on track. And speaking of back on track, I have with me here a scroll from the ancient libraries that might help illustrate the final point of this section. In order to prevent side quests from being actual sidetracking, they should always come back to the main story at some point. As the scroll demonstrates, a side quest branches off from the main story and then circles back to join up again at the end. You don't want it to go off and just end somewhere out there, because that's a great way to make it feel redundant. Side quests can also swing across the main story as the scroll shows here, maybe with an information drop or something foreshadowing. For example, while the party is chasing the people who kidnapped one of the PC's cousins, they come across a plague-ridden person in the dark sewers, foreshadowing the impending outbreak that will catapult the main story into Act 2. It's not important during the chase, but its significance will soon be revealed. Okay, so now that we know what we want from side quests and how long they should roughly be, I think it's time to get a bit more practical and start looking at how we actually make them. So you want to create a quest, maybe this side quest for your story, but where do we begin? How do you get started in the process? Well, there are a few entryways into it, if you will. When we're designing quests, we don't need to start from scratch every time. We can pick a quest archetype, which then can function as a framework on which you can hang all your unique ideas and turn it into your own. Here are some examples. The fetch quest is when someone needs something retrieved. It can be a magical item or a lost tome, which is in a dangerous place like a haunted ruin, or maybe locked behind a puzzle that none of the locals have been able to crack. The escort quest is about protecting someone while they do something or go somewhere. Maybe someone needs help with some grave robbing, and the party has to protect them from the ungrateful dead. It's an easy way to introduce some combat with a clear context that doesn't feel random. The bounty quest is someone willing to pay for someone else, dead or alive, with a reward of gold, information, favors, etc. You can easily add complexity to this quest by making the bounty target a far more likable person than the ones who are paying for their head, putting the players in this dilemma of who to side with. The puzzle quest is when someone has a problem that they can't solve. Maybe the town's library has clearly something going on with strange inscriptions on the bookshelves, but no one has been able to figure out what it means. Could it be the secret to uncovering the long-lost headquarters of the Order of the Silver Dragon? The last rebels to fight against the Dark Lord, Vampire Lord? Maybe. The social quest is when someone needs a social situation resolved. Maybe the kind innkeeper that has supported the party in all the early adventuring needs help. Somehow she has agreed to attend 2 weddings, but they are on the same day. Can the party figure this out? Can they get her out of this dilemma? The investigation quest is when there's a mystery to be solved. One of the PCs has a sibling that they don't like very much, but now this person has showed up and is telling them that they have received death threats in a letter. Not only will the party have to figure out who sent the letter by following a trail of clues, The PC also has to deal with this sibling, maybe resolving their old dispute or making it worse. The rescue quest is when someone needs saving. The party is ready for their next great push in the main story. They have a ship, they have crew, and they have supplies for a month. But then the captain, who is the only person who knows the way to Snake Island, gets herself into some trouble the night before departure. The party has to rescue her from this gang of thugs, which later turn out to be a ship crew themselves, now chasing the players across the ocean. Choosing which archetype to use can be done by looking at your main story and then see what fits best. Or you can make it a creative challenge by rolling for a random archetype and then see how you can make it fit into the story. This might push you to some surprising ideas that you would otherwise not have had if you'd just gone with the safe option. Now, starting the process of creating a quest from an archetype is very much focused on the quest itself, like it is an isolated thing that you drop into your world. Another way you can go about it is to let the quest be shaped by the environment. So let's look at how environment can shape your quest. The environment and the setting has a huge impact on what a quest can be. Think, for example, of an escort quest. In the city, someone might need protection while they go and get medicine for their sister in a part of town that belongs to a rival gang. While in the forest, the party might find an injured dog in a trap that they need to bring back to its owner in a remote cabin. Each environment has different traits that helps shape the quests, so let's look at a few examples of these. Urban environment is signified by the presence of loads of people. It can have many different local environments in close proximity. For example, the nature in a park, next to a moody graveyard, next to an affluent merchant's quarters, next to the rough docks. The urban environment can also contain the entire social hierarchy, everything from the lowest pauper and peasant to the queen and the empress. Variety in people and locations is the key. A quest utilizing these traits could look something like this. It's a social quest about an aristocrat who has hired a poor gravedigger to dig up his brother's grave and steal the family's signet ring. But the gravedigger is now extorting the aristocrat by threatening to expose his involvement in the grave robbery. Would the party arbitrate in favor of the noble or the digger? And what other secrets might be unearthed before they are done? Forest environment is signified by a strong presence of nature and a hidden danger. It's a place where you can get lost if you stray from the road and where everything can be hiding behind the trees, from ancient ruins to a pack of goblins. Layers of danger is key, where the deeper you go into the forest, the wilder and darker it gets. A quest utilizing these traits could look something like this. It's an escort quest, where the party must protect a healer as they journey to a holy spring deep in the woods. The further in they go, the darker the forest gets, and the more dangerous the encounters become. Will the party carry on all the way to the spring, or will they turn back while they still can? Desert environment is signified by unforgiving wilderness, where only the strong thrive. It's about managing your resources as you travel from one small island of habitability to the next. It's a place of endless possibilities, where anything can be hidden by the shifting sands, from old temples to hidden tribes, lush oases, portals to other planes, etc. All of it just sitting out there in the sand, because how would people know it's there? A quest utilizing these traits could look like this. It's a bounty quest where a dangerous fighter accused of killing a beloved lawkeeper has fled into the desert with a huge bounty on their head. The party has to prepare well for the pursuit, with enough water, food and means of navigation to see them through. As they head out into the desert following the trail, they must contend with the intense heat at day and maybe sandstorms at night threatening to bury their camp. Maybe the bounty target begins hunting them as they struggle. Can they overcome both the fighter and nature? There are many more environments than this, but hopefully you get the idea. Figure out what is special about an environment and then shape the quest around that. If you want a video where I go into all of these different environments, you can leave a comment below. So to summarize it all a bit. A side quest can serve different purposes in your campaign, so if you're struggling with fitting something into the main story, consider doing it with a side quest. Match the length of the side quest to the frequency of your sessions. Use either archetypes or the environment to get your quest creation going. And don't forget that the ancient scrolls say that you must tie the side quest into the main quest at the end. Maybe that holy spring in the forest is guarded by a druid who is able to read the star map that the players have been struggling with in the main quest, or the fighter in the desert not only killed the lawmaster, but also stole this artifact that allows them to open a portal to the elemental plane of fire, where the warlord that the party has been fighting in the main story resides. And that is it for today. In the recent poll, a bunch of you voted for a video about foreshadowing and how to prevent it from derailing the story. So if you want to catch that video, you can subscribe to the channel. You can also support the channel by giving this video a like and write a comment down below. Maybe write which subjects you want me to cover, or just a happy little greeting. And also, if I can tempt you with some of the dungeons that I have published on DM's Guild, the link will be in the description. But until next time, take care of yourself, and I will see you. Goodbye! I should probably bring the ancient scrolls back to the library, otherwise I'm fucked.